Allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can you all hear me? Okay, is there anyone here that would like to address this board with an issue, a question, or a concern that is not on this morning's agenda? Larry? Is it okay if I move this? Sure.
My name is Larry Casciano, and I own the property at 127 Grover Street. And I'm here to discuss the new construction of the Carrier Park and the effects that it's having on my property. At the beginning of the month, myself and three other neighbors met with Ed and a few other people to discuss this problem. And Ed told me at that time that the people that can make changes to this contract is this board. So that's why I'm here today to discuss with you my issue. This is my property here. And this is Grover Street, Roby, and Kinney. This is the layout of the new park. Here are new batting cages. And this representation isn't quite correct. The batting cages are much closer to Grover Street. And my house is right across from it. Now there's three issues: lights, noise, and line of sight. I feel Well, what I've been told is along here is going to be a chain link fence. You can see right through a chain link fence. Here and down to about this point is a beautiful 8-foot high solid wood fence. Unfortunately, it stops right there. Now, what I'm asking you to consider is an extension of that wood fence along Grover Street to Roby. It's a relatively short distance. Now, there's nothing that can be done about the lighting. This fence, if installed, may help a little bit with noise. And as you know, a batting cage is constant bing, bing, bing. I don't see the fence helping that much. But as far as not having to look at a batting cage and maybe somewhat maintaining my property values, this fence would greatly improve that. This is a photograph from my front porch. This here is the batting cage. And you can see how close it is to Grover Street. It would be hard for me to believe that anybody on this board who has a home would like to look at that every single day. Now, they haven't built the fence around the batting cage, but this temporary fence is about the location where the wood fence would be installed.
How many feet?
It can't be 10 feet. This fence. Now, the batting cage may be another 5 feet.
10 or 15?
Yeah. Now, Ed told me that they're going to plant some trees here. But let's face it, there's not much. By the time they reach maturity, I'll probably be gone.
Why not plant some 15 to 16-foot evergreens?
That was the plan.
I mean, I know you don't look too bad. I mean, can't shut them for a long time, but you don't look too bad. So put mature trees in there. I kind of know I'm a tree guy.
Yeah, but they take a long time to grow.
16 footers. Take you both. Yeah, put the fence and put the nice evergreens.
That was the plan.
Yeah.
I mean, even where the wood fence is, they will have the arborvitaes.
Yeah.
And he has a legitimate complaint over the lighting. We've been there, we've seen
There's
the original.
Yeah.
The original lighting from fields 1 and 2 do shine across the street. And so we put a change order in to have those lights readjusted. The new lights are not the Ephesus lights, they're the Musco lights, and they will direct to the fields and not stray off site. The old lights we're actually changing out to make sure that they don't stray, but the old lights stray. And again, we're in the process of getting a cost estimate for the wood fence. The plan, the original design was a wood fence for any property that bordered the park. So the opposite side of the street was the rest of the whole park is perimeter from Kinney over to Roby with the chain link. But there was plans for, and our plans for the tall arboretum that would form a green wall.
Yeah.
And we've told the neighbors that are getting the wooden fence, because they're in about a 15-foot right of way that we have a water line in that is used as their backyards. We would plant in that right of way too, but we also have intent of planting that tall arboretum. They only grow about 4 feet wide, but they grow tall. And that would make a solid wall.
In there, you know, big everybody. Right up.
I am the only resident that has direct view from their front yard to the park. All these residents here and here, they're facing opposite of the park. My property faces right, my neighbor right here, their front yard's Roby. I'm the only one.
Go on out here, there's your assessment. You're lucky you might be in for free.
when you see this, I mean, we can joke about it, but to me, it's a serious problem. And like I said, I don't think any one of you want to look at that every single day. So it is my request that you consider a modification to the contract to install a wood fence, just like these people are getting here and here, that it just be extended that short distance. Now it could either be, I'm not gonna tell you how to do it, a modification to the existing contract, a new contract. I really don't care. I would prefer the fence over trees. That's what
In our meeting with the neighbors, there's another woman with an issue on the corner of Roby and Grover that has X. So we have other issues to deal with at the board too. I haven't brought this to the board yet because I don't have a cost estimate on the fence, but she's got a fencing issue too that I've asked the engineers and architects to look at the costs. And we've looked at either shutting off traffic at a permanent gate on Roby because there's traffic issues associated with it as well. So we have intentions of bringing these issues back to the board. I did tell Larry we would do that. And so yeah, it's not off the table. These things are
I understand.
being considered. It's just, we're not at a point where we can make those decisions yet.
As far as the lighting goes, that's a done deal. There's nothing I can do about that. That's gonna happen. But noise is
The
an
light
issue.
should
Hopefully a
not-
solid wood fence would help a little bit, maybe even better than the trees. I don't know, but
Well, if both should be better than nothing,
Yeah.
right?
yes.
Right, yeah, and again, the light, we should be able to correct.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And, thank you for your consideration. Thanks.
Oh, anytime.
Have a
Again,
great day. Thanks, Larry.
thank you. Jeff? Or no? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Good morning. Thanks for letting me speak. My name is Richard Coons. I live at 507 Calhoun. Your last meeting, you were discussing a townwide ambulance service. I will give you a little bit of my background so I can tell you where I'm speaking from. 1972, I was a motor lifeboat rescue operator in the United States Coast Guard. 1976, I joined the South Bay Volunteer Fire Department. Granted, we're not professionals, but we're volunteers, and I've been involved, and I still am currently as a driver, pump operator, and trainer for the South Bay Volunteer Fire Department. I dress like this to impress. When I leave here, I'm going to go stand an 8-hour watch at the firehouse to be there to respond if we get an alarm. When I spend my over 1,000 hours a year there, I have no choice but to listen to 911 dispatchers all day long. I listen to every call. I listen to every response. I listen to every response time. So I have a little validity in the points I'm going to bring up. I was very disturbed with what Mr. Pinsky described as the condition of the ambulance service in the town of DeWitt. I live at 507 Calhoun. It's the north side over there by the ballpark, not too far from this gentleman over on Roby. And our ambulance that takes care of our neighborhood is Eves. Now, Eves is fantastic. They have the lowest response time in Onondaga County. Their average is about 5 minutes. This is all research and I'll email it to you. I'll give you a copy of it. These are actual facts that I printed. Some of the stuff is printed directly off the internet, copied and pasted, verified, validated, not conjecture and not compared to rural counties in upstate New York and Madison County. We're not that. Also got the demographics here of our county, our town. Eves is fantastic. They're one of the best rated. They've got excellent staffing. They've got 5 rigs. If you double their district by giving them the entire town and push commercial ambulances out, you're going to increase their response times and put them at the average that the county has, which is, I think it's 8.6 minutes. 3.5 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but sometimes 1 minute is too much. I don't know how many up there of you have any EMS training? Has anybody got any EMS training or anybody a first responder? Is anybody a EMT, a paramedic? Does anybody ran an ambulance service? What I heard last week or from your last meeting shocked me. Because here you are trying to take a town that has no experience in running an ambulance. You're trying to become the ambulance service for the entire town. That's like me putting me in charge of the ER at Krause Irving. It's stupid. How can you run something you know nothing about? I listened to a guy stand up here and float V8 about all kinds of stuff, but most of it was irrelevant. One of the things that really got me is when he said it's not a dangerous job. And I'd have you try and get a hold of the family of Mark Davis. Anybody know who Mark Davis is? Mark Davis is a 25-year-old EMT volunteering for Cape Vincent Fire Department who was killed in the line of duty for going on a simple call. Okay.
I don't recall Mr. Pinsky ever saying that.
It's the tape, and all you have to do is watch the tape. That's the nice thing about you guys putting this on YouTube. So
Absolutely.
I sat there and I would stop it, take my notes down, I stop it and take my notes down. Then I go out and I did research. So I would strongly suggest, and in all fairness, I spoke to 2 commercial ambulance services. I talked to 2 volunteer ambulance services. I talked to hospital personnel. The issue isn't with your ambulances, folks. The issue is with the hospitals and the procedures down there. You know how long it takes an ambulance to get out?
We don't disagree with you on any of those issues. Certainly the system at the county level is broke, right? I mean, I don't think you're gonna hear anybody from this board argue that ambulances and first responders are spending too much time at the ER. And I too have reached out and spoke with the head of the Krause emergency response. I have, or emergency rooms and the doctors that are work in the system with the AMs. I have a upcoming meeting with the head of AMR and TLC. I've met with them in the past. And I'll just quickly give you a summary of what the ambulance district that was being discussed. And it will take a considerable period of time, I think, before this board would ever come to a decision. We have an ambulance district in the north town now. Eves is the licensed operator for that district.
Correct.
What we do is we subsidize through the property tax in that ambulance district, Eves organization. If someone gets a ambulance ride, and I've had family members, I've had friends relative in the south of the town, their insurance gets tagged and there is a copay. And that copay can range from anywhere from $700 to $1,200 or more. And so in the north town, where Eves is our first line of defense in the 911 system, anybody that gets paid due to the subsidy, the copay is forgiven. Now, for years, we've said we've got the Jamesville and the DeWitt fire departments that we felt transport is a considerable part. If I have a heart attack in the south town right now, DeWitt is gonna be there and they're gonna do a great job responding. And then they're gonna turn me over to AMR. The first response that came from the DeWitt Fire Department is paid for through my tax bill. The second response that takes me to the hospital is paid for through my insurance provider. And so the whole discussion really is about the financing for town residents and how we can put the two together so that the insurance bill and a tax bill can work together to lower costs and increase times. And so now your supposition about expanding eaves and not being able to provide service across that district, there's nothing that says eaves won't expand their workforce with the expansion of the territory. So again, this is an ongoing discussion that this board will have, I'm sure, a number of discussions regarding. And the decision is probably somewhere way down the road, but you're more than free to continue. But I do want to make sure that you understand that the supposition or the proposition of expanding eaves into these other districts is about the same issues that are important to you. I think our goals here are to provide the best response we possibly can for our residents, considering the areas that we can control. We cannot control what's happening in the hospitals, and you're better off standing in front of the county legislature if you expect that issue to get fixed.
I have. And that's the great thing about research, because everything you just said, I researched, I've got it written down. I know that. I'm just looking at,
So your purpose here today?
my purpose here today is to make sure that you do the research and look at the real numbers, because what I heard on your tape last week was you're gonna be able, you're gonna start out by doing this all for $100,000. You're gonna more than double their district. And and when you compare it to other ambulance, volunteer ambulance services such as NAVAC is a gold standard. I mean, they have call volume to make the money, to maintain and service a very large customer base. Their response times are longer, yes, because they sometimes go from North Syracuse all the way to Bridgeport. That's their district. But even the fact of going from the north side of town to the south side of town is going to add time to eaves. They've got to work.
Depends on where they're coming from.
Well, they should be coming from their courtroom, basically. Because I heard Mr. Pinsky say on his, and you can check it on your video, I sit there at my office and I hear a call go out and it's 20 minutes before an ambulance goes by. I got news for you, not every ambulance responding to the south side of DeWitt goes down Genesee Street past Mr. Pinsky's office. Okay.
Yeah, no,
These are leading. Now, if you're saying that nothing really is going to get done in the next 6 months, as you said, you want to make sure this came to the board before you were finished.
I would like to see this come to a decision within the next 6 months.
Yeah, I don't think that is prudent, and I don't even think it's feasible with your
The types of details as to where, again, the assumption you're making is a decision down the road. Let's assume that we do expand eaves into the south town. There's nothing that says an arrangement could not be made with the Jamesville and DeWitt fire departments that ambulances were responding out of those barns. Again, there's a number of details that we really don't have time for. And my concern is that you're using this as a political platform to launch your campaign, and that you're using eaves and
my wife is in a wheelchair. Okay. They're right around the corner. 2 years ago, she fell off the front porch and destroyed her shoulder. I had two options. I could have called an ambulance, or I could have taken her to the Bone and Joint over there. which I did. I made a call. I took her over there. Didn't tie up an ambulance. It wasn't life threatening, but it would have kept an ambulance tied up for hours. I understand all that. I live it every day. Every day I'm at work, I live it. What I object to is the fact that you're trying to rush this through. When I know for a fact the county is working on things right now, they're putting a committee together. They're trying to figure out a better way to do it. But if you go in there, you push this through, or you try to push it through, you're just going to slow it down. Now, if you are going to be meeting with the county and you are going to be meeting with TLC and AMR, that's a good thing. Maybe, just maybe, they'll slow you down a little bit to give everybody sitting up there a chance to research it. You gotta research it. I didn't hear any research out of that meeting. That's what upset me.
Okay, well, again, it's duly noted, this board will, I'm sure, weigh the decision very carefully. My response to that is I'm a researcher for a living. I've spent my life researching. I try not to make, I researched this before we put the first system in place when we went to the subsidy in the ambulance district. And again, I'm fully in support of the expansion of that district. And
Then
based on all the current research, I strongly agree. I strongly think that's the best option for DeWitt residents. If the county improves the system, that would be welcomed. How that changes from public to private in interaction, I'm all ears. I'll be more than happy to.
real easily.
I'll be more than happy to sit down with you offline and hear any of the additional facts that you've got that you would like to bring to this board. But I truly have an agenda that I'd like to get to here this morning.
I understand.
And so you're more than willing to call and make an appointment and deliver anything you want to me, because again, we are strongly in agreement that research is the basis for any decision you would make.
Post your numbers on the town website, your research, and that would be a really great help. It could eliminate conversations.
I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that has a question, an issue, or concern that they would like to bring to this board? All right, with that, I'll ask the clerk to take the roll
Supervisor Michaelenko,
here.
Counselors Alex,
Here.
Fiorenza,
Here.
Lee Hood is absent, Mannion,
Here.
and Ruckteschall.
Here.
Okay, we have a public hearing for the local law of the town constable. Clerk, please read the notice.
Notice is hereby given pursuant to the provisions of section 20 subdivision 5 of the municipal home rule law of the state of New York. A public hearing will be held by the town board of the town of DeWitt in Onondaga County, state of New York on Monday, July 14th, 2025 at 8:35 a.m. in the town offices, 5400 Butternut Drive, on the question of amending local law number 10 of 2023 to remove the part-time requirement of the town constable codified in sections 39A-1 and 39A-2 of chapter 39 of the DeWitt Town Code entitled Town Constable, thereby allowing for the employment of a full-time constable in the town of DeWitt. Copy of said proposed local law is on file at the town clerk's office and via the website, may be examined by any interested person during regular business hours or prior to the day of the hearing. This was published in the Post Standard on June 26, 2025.
Thank you. Yeah, but
As Angela just stated, this is a relatively small amendment to chapter 39A of the town code. When the town board first approved the local law for town constable, it had a part-time restriction in it. Because at that time, we were only contemplating a part-time constable at a local private school. Now we have other private schools who would like to employ a constable on a full-time basis. My research suggests that there was no legal requirement to have this be a part-time position, and that it can be part-time or full-time. And we just have to change our law to remove the part-time restriction. So in subsection 39A1 and subsection 39A2, those references to part-time or to the part-time office have been removed. And the remainder of the chapter will remain exactly the same.
Any comments from the board? Anyone here to speak to this issue? With, I'll close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion to approve. A second. Okay, a motion from Max, a second from Bernard. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, DACC.
I'm Dennis Payne, I'm the chairman of DAC, the Advisory Conservation Commission. We would like to address some concerns we have with Micron project, and we're going to request that they use sustainable practices throughout their construction and as the project goes forward. Sonia from DAC has got to address this.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Right.
So I come to you as a member of DAC. I'm a physician with degrees in biology and chemistry. And I've also been involved with review of Micron's environmental footprint through climate change awareness and action, and on the steering committee for Sustain CNY, which is a coalition of environmental groups in the region. So first I want to really bring the positives out, which is that DeWitt has a really strong reputation of being really balancing businesses and the environmental concerns that may go along with having businesses. So that's a real plus. The town has already taken this 100% renewable energy pledge for all electric sectors and has a solar array that's accomplished that, has an ambition for 100% renewable by 2035, all sectors for the municipality, reaches out to businesses to see what they can do. And we have a sustainability plan in place with actions ongoing. There's a draft sustainability policy that the board passed. There's some new members on since that passed. And these are the highlights here, goals for a decade of the policy bullets. And that's one of the asks from DAC is to get that finalized and out to the public to benefit the Venetian municipalities. And I'll kind of explain why as I go through what's going on with my plan. So DeWitt has been, we all know, really trying to look at what's happening with 81 and 481 and the traffic coming around and effects on greenhouse gas emissions and noise and, endangered species, the whole 9 yards. So we've already been down that road for years. Micron, in comparison, is a whole nother can of worms. I mean, as I review the document, which is the Bulletin Amendments 20,000 pages long, it's just mind-boggling. How many permits have to be approved to not, to actually give permission to potentially allow harm to the environment? Things that they have to get through. It's just mind-boggling. So when you look at I'm not going to go through everything, but just kind of try and highlight how it impacts DeWitt. But just if you do look at the document, they used the center radius of the main project and brought it out a mile and looked at the environmental impact from that. And they looked at the child care center and brought it out a half a mile and looked at a quarter mile and looked at the environmental impact from that. So there's two parts to the project. There's what's called the proposed project, which is everything that's Micron and the 4 fabs that will be built in stages to make chips. And then there's everything else that's called the connection projects that allows that to get done, which is water, gas, electric, highway system changes. So that's where the impact really may be felt down to DeWitt. And I'll just briefly go through and welcome any questions related to it. So in terms of water use, water is estimated to be the equivalent, the use of the whole city of Syracuse daily, drawn from Lake Ontario. When that water is used, part of it will be reclaimed, and there's some, the draft environmental impact statement has information about reclamation, but it's nowhere near all of it. And whatever is reclaimed and treated will be discharged into the Oneida, which links with the Oswego River and entered into Lake Ontario. with build out of pipelines to be able to do that. I put in here that Lake Ontario is an international body of water, and that really has been addressed in terms of impacts on our neighbors beyond US. The site where Micron is being built, I think there's been a lot of public eye about it being wetlands. But it's actually,
Does DeWitt have any legal standing in this? Point of order, this is our discussion topic.
Yes, yeah. I will entertain comments when she's done. And the comments are to be directed to the board.
Time, DeWitt have no issues in this.
Go ahead, proceed.
Can I hear from the attorney?
Proceed.
She's welcome to give her presentation, sir.
so the wetlands, the land where Micron is being built is wetlands. Agriculture is listed as prime agricultural property by the DEC. And also involve removal of trees. The wetlands is pertinent because greenhouse gas emissions wetlands are a source of carbon sequestration that hold in carbon into the earth. And it's similar, people understand that, I think, with rainforests, but wetlands are our version of rainforests here in the park. So removal of the wetlands will affect greenhouse gases will be emitted, and also carbon will no longer be kept in. So it's like a double whammy with that happening. And also prime farmland will be removed, which really hasn't been brought up. The impact of that on wildlife has been somewhat brought up and is in a lot of detail in the document, but there's a couple of threatened species that have not even been listed that will be impacted by the wetlands and affecting surface waters, as well as the water discharge will affect water mussels and lake sturgeon that are in those waterways as the water transmits towards Lake Ontario. Electricity. So the Green Ships Act, which brings in money to fund this Micron project, requires 100% renewable energy. The document is very vague where that renewable energy is coming from. They seem to indicate that they already have it in place. The only way they can have it in place is if they're planning on pulling from the 80% renewable energy in upstate New York right now, which is hydro and electric. But that comes to all of us. So if Micron takes it all, DeWitt will not have it. We had a East Syracuse resident come to our last meeting and told us about the 6 days of no electricity for no reason. Just no electricity for 6 days. And so, there's already issues with the grid, we understand. So the renewable energy has just not been outlined. And so whatever happens with renewable energy will impact the rest of us. They've estimated in a 5-county area in terms of where is it coming from. Natural gas uses will be extremely high. It's hard to pin down the numbers. They listed 698,112,000 cubic feet per month use of natural gas, which is enough to power 107,000 households. And that's expected to be for both operating and building the fabrication. But exactly if they're using it for other parts of the plant operations is not clear. If they can only use fossil fuels to run the fab, or if there's alternative energies that could be looked at. A small, but sort of a slap in your face is there is a solar array on the premises, and that's going to be removed in order to build a building. So they're expecting to get permission from the owner to put it somewhere else, but where that somewhere else isn't clear. So those are the main things related to Micron at its like home base, but there's also something called the proposed actions. Then there's connected actions, which involve in order to construct Micron, these connect actions must be done. And they involve water conduits, electricity conduits, natural gas conduits. And then there's a fourth one, a railway spur is being built to connect CSX railway in Clay to the Micron site. So just to hear that, you're like, okay, great, good idea, bring a railway spur, bring it over. Then they get into detail of what's gonna be on that railway spur. There's gonna be 60 times 3 sets of railway cars every single day. 60 that are gonna be unloaded, 60 that are being loaded, and 60 that are in transit. 180 rail cars. They're building a rail car house to take care of these rail cars. The spur is listed to operate from 6 AM to 10 PM. The Clay Planning Board has not approved those hours, which are not within code. But that's the expectation for them to move all these rail cars every single day that's part of the construction. Once the construction is done, 20 years from now, it sounds like that spur may go away, but not sure.
It's gonna be out of the DeWitt yards, correct?
Well, that wasn't listed, and that's the main reason I put this in the document, is that the inland hub is CSX Railway in East Syracuse DeWitt. So they're either gonna be trucking from there or do something different to bring it up to that rail spur, but that rail spur will impact DeWitt. The other connected action that's not outlined, again, when I mentioned that they did the environmental impact statement looking at mile radius. They didn't, the connective actions are very short in terms of the environmental impact, and I have to get into more detail, it may be listed in there, but the greenhouse gas emissions from the connected corridors involving the construction and the operations is not there, like what, I don't know what the greenhouse gas emissions of that many rail cars moved every day looks like. But I'm sure it doesn't stay located just in Clay. And it will impact our air quality. And the document says that there will be impacts on air quality and on climate change. It actually says it in the document. The last area is housing in terms of potentially affecting DeWitt. They're expecting the need for, 25,000 new households. And again, there's slots that DeWitt already looks at with the sustainability policy in terms of environmentally friendly and sustainable practices with housing and buildings and things like that. So I have a lot of confidence in DeWitt being able to manage that, respectfully. But that's just, again, another big number. So in summary, DAC's recommendations are that the town of DeWitt, through the board and with help from DAC, submit public comments. There may be things that haven't been brought forward today that are in the back of your minds that specifically relate to DeWitt. To respond to the gentleman behind me, this does relate to DeWitt. That CSX railroad connection is DeWitt. And we all need that electricity, from wherever the supplier is, so that directly impacts DeWitt. But I can be happy to to iron down comments that are very specific to DeWitt through what's available. The other thing is the draft sustainability policy. If we can get this published, there are people out there that don't understand the magnitude of the picture, and anything that we can do to help surrounding municipalities to even share that information would be, believe me, it would be welcomed. The third is there's already been talk about doing this, is updating the greenhouse gas emissions inventory to know where we are now in the town. Has it changed since it was done before the sustainability plan in 2014? Is it better? Is it worse? I-81's coming down, Micron's being built. Both of those are going to impact it, and just kind of know where things are in terms of if the comprehensive plan or sustainability plan would be modified or other changes might be made. And just really to look at all of those, keeping this Micron in mind, as well as any other, issues that are going on in the town that you may not know about. I know that the town and town board take seriously their responsibilities in helping the citizens and are aware of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act goals and also the environmental amendment to the Constitution, to be respectful to all of us. So thank you for your time today.
Okay.
Any
No.
questions?
Thank you, Sonia. I'll just add that each board is independent, right? The planning board is independent of the town board, which is independent of the zoning board. Likewise, the commissions have authority. So the DeWitt Advisory Conservation Commission is a separate and independent body. You have every right as a group to submit comments independent of this town board so that you can provide it to the town board in an advisory capacity, and you have the right as citizens to submit to the Micron process in Onondaga County, and SACPA is acting as the lead agency on this project. I'll add my own experiences. Early on, the environmental community has been invited to come and listen to Micron and their plan of action for implementation of the project. It's a 4-phase project. This first phase is coming out of the draft environmental impact statement. All citizens, whether New York or North Dakota, have the right to comment on the draft environmental impact statement. You're in the audience, us on the board, you're more than welcome to submit comments. The project has a sustainability goal of like 2035 and another goal at 2050. They're coming out of the gates, as you have stated, with very little sustainable energy. Most of the project is going to be natural gas fueled and a high electric consumption. The governor has put another nuclear plant at the Oswego location. It really hasn't been specified yet, but that's where the discussion's leading. We've had residents in our town and outside our town getting notices from National Grid right now of low voltage. So the grid is overtaxed without any additional development or in certain locations right now. The high amount of electric consumption due to air conditioning during high heat periods puts stress on the grid. And so the grid does need expansion, whether that's alternate energy or traditional forms of energy. We have an electrical generating facility that has a capacity of 100 megawatts of electric production located right on Carr Street in the village of East Syracuse. If you notice, a lot of the winter deep cold periods and warm summer periods, that facility operates because it burns natural gas and it produces electricity during high periods of consumption. And so these issues do affect us all. There's estimates range from 800 million to $1 billion in water infrastructure improvements to deliver the water needed to this facility. It has really not been identified as to who is going to pay for that $1 billion of water delivery to the Micron facility. And so the infrastructure costs are likely to be spread over us and New York State in the long run. And so these are all issues that are going to affect us, from housing to electric gas consumption. My personal opinion is I'm opposed to nuclear power. Many environmentalists count that as a sustainable form of energy. We have a difference of opinion amongst the environmental community as well. The nuclear power industry has never dealt with the waste. They haven't added the cost of waste disposal and waste management, which will extend far into the future. So those of it that oppose for the likelihood of an occurrence or an event at a nuclear facility is low, but the consequences once they occur is catastrophic. And so we're taking a gamble. And at some point in time, the Chernobyl or the 3 Mile Island could occur right here in Oswego. So those facilities that are up there now are getting old. And the older they are, the less reliable they are in terms of their operation. So I've spoken too long, but to add to your
I do have a question.
concerns.
actually, which is, how much of our water comes from Lake Ontario?
All of it.
All of it, right? Okay.
Well,
Is that what
Micron
it is?
facility,
Is the, in terms of the water table and the safety of the water, in terms of the construction location, when they dug down, there's bedrock and then there's the karst region, and if you start constructing the water, the karst region.
Yeah.
It's
Actually-
scary to think about.
been involved in some of the trade-offs right now that are occurring to help the White Pines. It's full of wetlands and it's full of, let's say, Indiana brown bat habitat. And so anyways, we had a site right here in DeWitt, White Lake, which we purchased and turned over to the Wetlands Trust out of Ithaca, New York. We welcome that because for 20, 30 years, we've had the position that White Lake should be in the public realm, and it could be a valuable asset to the public. And so being one of the last remaining plunge pool lakes formed by the glaciers, part of the Green Lakes chain, and the Glacier Park or Glacier Lake at Clark's Reservation. White Lake sits right in the middle, and so that will become a public property in the short term as a result of the Micron facility. There's 7,000 Indiana brown bat located on that property, along with several other endangered species. And so the Micron process is working its way through the.
They didn't look at the connected corridors and the impact on those species. They didn't set up boundaries that were wide enough to look at those. That's another.
But certainly it will affect DeWitt and DeWitt's residents, and it will affect all of central New York and New York State going forward. So it's something that I welcome you all in. This board can formulate its own opinion and decide if it wants to submit comments.
So comments need to be submitted by August 11th. So you all want to get back to me
Yeah.
sooner rather than later.
At a
But
minimum-
this can be after.
At a minimum, I would advise that you submit the comment and ask for more time. You don't issue a 20,000 page
Yes.
document and expect individuals to get
So
through it in a short. It's taken us years to get here. Another 45 days wouldn't hurt anybody. Okay,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis.
No, thank you very much. We're concerned about the impact on the town of DeWitt. And like people to be aware that we like the project to use sustainable methods for the complete life of the project.
Peter, did you want to address this board?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Micron project myself, but you have no purpose here to legislate, regulate, or appropriate anything to do with Micron. So I think we just wasted a lot of time.
We have every right to act as citizens and participate in government at all levels. Okay, with that, I'll move on. All right, authorization to post for the deputy assessor position. Al had a dental emergency this morning, but as you know, we're in search of a deputy assessor. Al's made it clear that he's maybe got 5 to 7 years left in his career, and we need to backfill his position and get an individual into that slot that would train him and manage the workload in the interim.
Can we move this one to executive session?
Certainly. Yep, if there's personnel issues to discuss, we'll move to executive session. All right, to designate the tree committee members as tree stewards. Eric. Morning.
So we're here today to propose designating tree committee members as tree stewards. So the way the code is written right now, the tree committee provides training to the tree stewards, and then the tree stewards are supposed to do the actual maintenance, planning, pruning. So we're proposing that the tree committee members are designated as tree stewards so that they are actually authorized to go maintain trees specifically in the right of way. There was an incident where the tree committee member was responding to a call for someone that had a concern about a tree in front of their house. And we believe the tree committee member went down the block and did some more pruning on street trees that needed it on that block. And there was a resident that came out and was concerned that there was a person on their property in the right of way, so semi-public tree. And they called 911 and the situation escalated a little bit. And I guess there was a little confusion on who actually is authorized to do the maintenance. So we're just proposing that the tree committee members are authorized as tree stewards to do the actual maintenance.
And what I would request that you do as well is that if maintenance is going to be performed, and you should integrate this into the future with the parks and property maintenance people as well. I mean, it's not uncommon for us to clear trees on lines of vision at intersections, right? Or to take and cut back bushes and stuff. All that should be coordinated. And when maintenance is going to be performed, the residents should be noticed, just like the streets, right? I got a notice they're going to seal my street, right? They're going to put cones out the week it's going to occur so that residents are aware that people will be coming through the street tree areas and maintain it. And then my final commercial on tree maintenance in right-of-ways is that our tree ordinance has been in effect about a decade now, maybe a little longer. But any community that has tree maintenance in the right-of-ways has less power outages and less problems associated with the trees should they go unattended. You plant the right tree in the right location and maintain it. People do not lose their home power feeds. It doesn't mess up your water lines, does less sewer maintenance because of roots growing into the sewer lines and everything. So a well-managed right-of-way tree program is an investment in the future. And if you do notice other areas, I tend to watch it. I have individuals that stay in contact with a grid, and we tend to have less overall crises during storm events as compared to some of our neighbors. And so thank you for this program. It does need some tweaking and then some expansion. And one of the important factors would be to notice residents when the maintenance is to occur.
And another thing, if we could have like shirts or vests that said, tree storage on the back, so if
Right.
someone looks out the window, they say, okay. Also then, so technically the town naturalist is supposed to coordinate this training of the stewards. But until we hire one, I will take that role, coordinate the training.
Great, thank you.
And just scheduling, making sure people are aware that they're coming out there. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion. Motion from Max, a second from Joe. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. Okay. Ange, town board minutes?
23rd minutes are in your packet.
Entertain a motion from Carrie, a second from Bernard. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. Okay, check registers. Got a motion from Carrie, a second from Joe. Any discussion? Yeah, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. Town board updates?
Yeah, I have one. I just want to let everybody know that the battery storage planning task force has had a few meetings. We talked with some advisors from NYSERDA. We also met with the developers, some that were here when we had the public hearing about the moratorium, and then also some new ones we had heard from. Had a very successful meeting with them, taking their input in last week. And we're planning on now working off the NYSERDA model law for the next couple of months to develop a draft, and hopefully this fall we'll have a draft, and that draft will be circulated between this board, the planning board, and then back out to outside parties that are interested as well.
Great, thank you. Along those lines, I have a draft of the Hamlet 2 district as well, and thank Doug, he's put together a map for me and a list of the parcels that would be included in that change. I assume that will go to this board, and between now and the next meeting, just review it, because the next step would be to make recommendations to the planning board. It would go to the planning board for modification, improvements and or acceptance. And then the question that I have is, you may want to adjust the map boundaries. Okay, there might be parcels that we've included. It's easier to delete than it is add. And so everything I did include, I think, is a potential parcel that could make the zone change. But there may be some you do not want to include in that expansion. So any other town board updates?
Question for Mr. Buckdash?
I'm sorry, Peter, I didn't.
I have a question for Mr. Buckdash.
You're more than welcome to grab them on the way out.
Well, for the board.
We,
I have a question for the board.
okay, and I'm gonna allow you to ask your question because we haven't seen your presence in a while, but we have an open session before this board starts, of which we take comment. In fact, the prior administration never allowed comment. Came from the audience. And so in the spirit of democracy, I'm going to allow you to ask this question, Peter, but I want you to know I have the right to shut you off.
I appreciate that. It's very short. It's a very short question. Did you get input from the people in Shamal, East Hampton, and Warwick on the battery storage fires that they had in those communities?
Not specifically from them, but our chief in fire in DeWitt, Jason Green, is on the task force, and we are very interested in specifically the fire hazard related to this, which is why we put a moratorium on the development of battery storage to make sure that if it is coming to DeWitt, it's going to be coming in the safest way possible.
Okay, any other questions for the board? All right, I think with that, I'm going to excuse you. I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session. I have a motion from Joe and a second from Carrie. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried. Thank you.